Welcome to the call, everyone, and thank you so much for coming out and joining me, LisaGold, and Bones Rodriguez. We have known each other for, how many years has it been, Bones? Long time.
12.
Wow.
Like 10, 12 years, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've actually done what we'll call working together by joint venturing and bringing something that you have figured out for yourself, which is how to be a successful working actor, which you are. If anybody has gone to his link and seen his commercials and all of this amazing stuff that he's been doing, and he's done it all without a day job, flexible or otherwise. And I'm really, really proud and happy to have you on this call with my people tonight, because this is a question that everybody struggles with when they're an actor. How do I make an income while I'm still pursuing my career? I haven't quite kicked in enough to make a living as an actor yet, and we all need, to pay the rent and the bills, and so, what are your secrets? So I'm going to just turn it over to you, and again, if everybody comes on the line and you haven't muted yourself, just hit that *6 so there's no background noise. Thank you for playing. Turn it over. Bones Rodriguez, go for it. Woohoo!
Cool. Thanks so much, Lisa. Can you guys all hear me? Lisa, can you hear me, Lisa?
I can hear you fine.
Excellent.
Sure
and you know what? Just to get us started, for those of you in front of a computer, if you would go to nomorewaiters.com/Lisa, and just comment in there, making sure you can hear me, and it's all straight up. I am on a cell phone, and you know how that goes, right? So I just want to see if there are any comments that go on there at nomorewaiters.com/Lisa. Just if you can hear me, just put yes in there, and we'll be able to get going on that.
Yeah, your technology amazes me. If you scroll down, it's got like a thread for adding comments. Really cool.
Comment thread there.
Yeah.
And did you say hit no more whatever? I don't see it on my page. All I have is actors quit your J job. Oh, no more waiters. I'm sorry. I got it. You'll be back. She said you haven't seen anything yet.
Just click *6. *6 to mute yourself. And just know that we're going to go here for a little while. I'm going to tell you my story, how I kind of came about this whole thing, how long I've been actually without a day job, which might surprise a whole bunch of you, and show you how you can too. And I have this conversation all the time at parties and at bars, because people kind of recognize me here and there for doing stuff. I was born and raised here in New York City, and I really wasn't thinking about being an actor when I was younger. I went to Science High School. For those of you in New York, went to Bronx Science, and eventually went to Skidmore College upstate in Saratoga. And I went there for business and for Japanese. I took one business class, and I could not stand it. Couldn't stand it. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I don't know if any of you know that feeling. If you do me a favor and put yes in that comment box if you know what I'm saying. Or on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feel about business. Give me a number from 0, you can't stand it, to 10, it's like the best thing. Comment something like that on the page. I want to make sure you're here with me. And I'm going to keep refreshing, so if I don't see anything, I'm going to be like, I'm going to stop talking. Okay, 0, exactly. So Marcus, Devin, exactly, good. You know what I'm saying. And teeny tiny Tanya, also, yes. So you know what I'm saying. And Deborah Stone, Elizabeth Moore, awesome. So I ended up doing a musical for no reason. I want you to understand, for no reason, someone asked me to do a musical. But when I say no reason, here's what I mean. In Saratoga, when I went to school at Skidmore College, I was one of not so many brown people at the school. And somebody decided they wanted to do The Wiz. So the odds were in my favor that I was going to be cast in that. Now, I want you to remember that I said that. I want you to remember that I told you that at the moment, the odds were in my favor that I was going to be cast for that, okay? Now, I happen to love the movie, so when I went in, I auditioned. It was a club. It wasn't officially for the school. It was a student-run musical. And I auditioned with, I don't remember what song, some song, and a little dance and yay. And the guy cast me as the Tin Man. Now, for those of you who know The Wiz well, The Wiz movie, Nipsey Russell doesn't really sing in the movie. He kind of talks his songs. So I was like, phew, nice. I get to just talk some songs. I guess I don't sing that well, right? Come to know, we were doing this show where he has two pretty good songs. So, nervous as hell, not sure that I could do it. If you've ever felt like, oh, my God, I got this role, now what? I wanted to get this role. Now what? Give me a now what in the chat. Just give me a now what. If you've ever gotten a role and you've been like, oh, my God, what the hell did I do to myself? I just want to know I'm not alone in that feeling. But I did the part. Nervous as hell, tried to kind of like get out of the show, honestly, at first, but ended up doing the show and doing, if I do say so myself, an amazing job. As you might know, you get that applause, right? You end the song, you tell the joke, you do the scene, you get that applause, and you say, holy crap, I just moved a bunch of people. Now, it wasn't the first time I had done that, because back in 5th grade, we were doing The Night Before Christmas. And my drama teacher put it together really quickly. Now that I'm 42, I understand how drama teachers do that. And she kind of said, hey, John, that's my real name, by the way, John, I'm going to read the story, and you just act it out as we go along, right? And there's this part of that story where it's like the guy jumped to the window like a flash. And I dove across, I'm 5th grade, 10 years old, dove across the stage, hit the floor, rolled to the window, and when I stood up to open the window, all the kindergartners and 1st graders were just laughing. And I don't know if you've ever heard a room of kindergartners and 1st graders just laughing their head off. Oh, man, is that satisfying. And for me, I'll tell you right now, it's even more satisfying to me now than the like raucous applause of finishing a great song. Okay? But it's that bug. If you've ever felt that bug, I will put the age you were when you first felt that bug in the chat room, in the chat box there. I'm going to put it myself. I'm not doing the chat box. Shit. Whatever.
Hey guys,
whoever that was.
I know. Hey guys, here's what we really need to do to make this a clean recording for the people that couldn't be on the call is if you could hit *6. That way those lovely comments and and all that won't be on the tape, and we can hear Bones a little bit more clearly. So if you haven't already, hit *6. And why don't you tell them again where that chat box is, Bones, so they can make their comments online.
Yeah, if you go over to nomorewaiters.com/Lisa, you'll see it there.
Yay.
And, you'll see it right under the call-in info, all right? And if you're on Facebook, actually, if you go to Lisa's page, you'll see it there, too, if you go to that there. But you know what? That's my fault. I'm going to listen-only mode. Hold on. I'm going to do that right now. Part 5. So if you felt that, you know the bug, and you want to make that happen. So when I did a couple more musicals at school, I did a bunch of student-run stuff, and I tried to get into the regular stuff in college. I had a little bit of lack of self-esteem going, a lack of, belief, because I kind of stumbled into the whole thing. Didn't mean to, kind of stumbled into the performing thing, and I was finding that I was really enjoying doing it. But at no point did I think it was going to be a career. I'm going to say that again. I did not think it was going to be a career for me, okay? So I graduated college with a creative writing degree, and I came out into the world. Now, I'm assuming that most people on this call are out of school now. I'm going to assume that you're adults and you're kind of like, a lot of people feel like they come out of school and they're going to, be the next Tom Hanks, but reality hits you quickly, right? And you start realizing that, oh, man, I have to make some money while I'm building this career. And here's where the business thing smacked me in the face. because I got out of school and not knowing what the heck to do with myself because I had a creative writing degree. What the hell was I going to do with that? So I got a job over at NYU answering phones. And I'm answering phones there, and I'm like, oh, what if I can do the student-run shows there? And I couldn't. So a bunch of friends and I decided we were going to start doing some improv around the city. And, that's the typical story. So far, hopefully you hear yourself in this story. The typical, I'm in New York or L.A., and I don't know what to do with myself. I'm going to start doing some improv and get seen. Because agents are going to come see me, and then I'm going to be the next Tom Hanks. Okay? Or whoever your idol is. If you have an idol, an acting idol, I want you to think about that person, okay? And I'm really into the interactive thing. So if you go to the chat box and tell me who your acting idol is. Look at that, Marcus Devon, I love it. 5 years old, an elf, stole the show. Exactly, Christmas play. 4th grade, when I sang on stage a cappella, Deborah Stone. I love it. Okay, so we started doing improv in New York. And, hey, people were coming to see us. And who was coming to see us? Oh, the other friends who were doing improv in New York. And our family and friends who came and saw our shows, right? But we swore that if we just promoted our show well enough, Spielberg was going to show up and we were going to be the next Tom Hanks. I'm going to keep saying that. All right? Just because a lot of people still feel that that's true. And frankly, it's kind of what we were taught in school, right? It wasn't our fault. And I'm going to tell you it's not your fault. Because generally speaking, when you're at school and learning how to act, it's a different thing than learning how to be an actor. And those are two different things. Learning how to act, let's be honest, everybody can act, right? If you've ever lied about something, you're acting. If you're, I have a bunch of friends who have kids. Their 3-year-old tells me that she's Elsa. And, you cannot convince her she's not Elsa from Frozen, okay? You cannot convince her. And that is acting. But then there's a skill, right? And then there's the being an actor part. And what we were starting to learn is that being an actor was different than doing the acting. Being an actor meant finding work as an actor, getting paid to do it, because otherwise we were at our day jobs. I was answering phones Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and then rehearsing improv, practicing improv, rehearsing, and doing shows, right, once a month or once a week for my friends, the same friends, right? And for some reason that I am unaware of, during that time I chose to get headshots because that's what I heard actors do, right? That's what I heard you do. And Lisa is probably cringing because LisaGold hears this story all the time. LisaGold has products to help people get away from the same old. And if you haven't gotten her how to get and keep an agent recording yet, at least the video, if you haven't seen it live when you could, then get the video because most people won't. And most people are going to do what their acting teachers taught them at school, which, if you think about it, your acting teacher taught you how to act and then be an acting teacher. I know that's rough, but your acting teacher is a teacher. Your acting teacher is like a gym teacher, but instead of teaching basketball, teaching you how to act. And it's not to denigrate. It's to say that there's a difference between the professional side of being an actor and the act of acting. Those are different things. And as the time went by, as a year went by, as 2 years went by, I noticed that I was in the same spot in those 2 years. I was still answering phones, doing shows with my friends, family, and nobody knew anything about me in the world of being an actor. But you have to understand, I thought I was doing it because I was doing the act of acting, so therefore I must be an actor, right? That's what I was taught. I know that's what's still being taught out there. And by the way, this is, well, a while ago. This is almost 20 years ago. Okay, right? But I know that this still goes on because of all the emails I get, because of all the people I talk to, because it's still the thing, right? Today, you guys, I talked to somebody who was 25 who told me how she used to be an actor. She's 25. That means at most, she was out there for 4 years. At most, right? And she wasn't, because I knew she had this job for a while, so she was lamenting that she wasn't an actor anymore. Why is that? Well, because she had to have a job, so she was a secretary. She was a receptionist at a doctor's office. That's where I was today, okay? So she was telling me how she used to be an actor. And I told her, you're always an actor if you want. You're always acting if you want. And you can always just hit the switch to the different side, so you can suddenly switch to being an actor. And that, here comes the paradox part, ready? That is when you treat it like a business. Oh my God, I know. And I know LisaGold right now is rolling her eyes saying, well, this is what I tell these people all the time. That you hear it all the time, right? Acting is a business. It's called show business. Not show your mama and show your friends. It's show business. But what does that mean? You guys, I quit the first semester of my business class. I left that entire idea because, damn it, business sucks, and I didn't want to do that. If you hear me, if you understand what I'm saying, I want somebody to put preach in the chat at nomorewaiters.com/Lisa. I want to see preach. But I'm not saying anything else until I see the word preach on the screen. Hey, Jay Santiago. Look at that. And a lot of people on here, I see you have a bunch of your titles on there, right? Jay Santiago works at American Airlines, right? Jay Santiago, I want you to go in there and change that stuff right now. Right now. If you want to be an actor, you change that right now from works at American Airlines. I want you to change that to works at actor and, has a job at American Airlines, because those are different. That's different, okay? Because who you want to be is different than what you want to do. When we're little, we ask, we tell kids, hey, we ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people usually give you a job, right? They tell you what they want to do, what other people call the thing they want to do, but you don't say what you want to be. You know what I wanted to be now? Happy. I want to be someone who is creative. I want to be someone who is inspiring, be someone who is entertaining, right? Fortunately, the vocation I have chosen, actor, allows me to do that. But here I was, performing for the same friends and family, answering phones during the day, and knowing that I was not being an actor, right? Because most of my time, 8 hours a day, you only have 24 hours in a day. A full third of my day was just getting the money so I could make it to the next day, right? The whole reason I got up at 7:30 and showered and had breakfast and got on the freaking train in New York to go down to NYU amongst the rest of the slaves to be there for a third of my day was just so I could get enough money so I could do it again the next day, right? The whole purpose. And then if I had to sleep a third of the day, that means I only had 1/3 of the day to do what I wanted to do, 8 hours, right? So if I was lucky, it was rehearsal night. If I was lucky, it was practice and rehearsal night. And I got to do a little bit of that. Man, I hope you guys are with me. I like doing stuff live, and I can see faces. So if you're with me, just type something. I don't know. If you're with me, just say I'm with you on there in the chat box at nomorewaiters.com/Lisa. So lucky for me, and here's the difference. I was in a group with like 6, 7 other people, right? And I was working at NYU. This guy at NYU came up to me and he said, hey, do you ever look at other ways to making money? Now, if you've heard that, in your life, it was probably somebody asking you about an MLM, a multi-level marketing business, or network marketing, and there are a lot of actors who do that these days. That's not what this call is about. I'll say it again, that's not what this call is about. But the guy asked me if I ever looked for other ways of making money. I was like, well, why would you ask such a stupid-ass question? I'm answering phones at NYU. Of course, I'd rather find other ways of making money, right? So he showed me what ended up being a multi-level marketing business. I'm not going to say the name. It was a big one that rhymes with cram hay, okay? And what I learned in that, I didn't know that it was a business. I thought it was just this thing. I was lucky enough that I didn't recognize that it was a business. I was lucky enough that I was kind of like, I wasn't fooled, but I just didn't, it didn't seem like a business like that I had seen in my Business 101 class. Because what I learned in Business 101 class, and what I've learned from my other friends who have day jobs, is that most of that is really sucking up to your boss. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to spend my time sucking up to an audience. I wanted to spend my time making an audience feel good rather than one guy who was paying me, right? So I started doing this multi-level marketing business. And if you don't know, it was selling a bunch of products for your home, you know, and finding other people who wanted to do that too. And that's all it was, and it's simple. But it was difficult for me. At first, it was great because I made some money, and then like trying to help other people do it, I couldn't really help them do it. But it was interesting because I suddenly had this thing that there was another way to make money aside from having a day job. I got like this check for $25 or something like that. No, I'm sorry. My first check was like for $3.50. And it was like, wow. I mean, $3, by the way, $3.50. And I was surprised. I was like, wow. This was not for hours spent. It was for something completely different. It was a way that I made money that didn't have to do with the time I put into it. So then that idea really took hold in me. And I started learning about other ways to do that. Now, my other friends who were in the improv group with me thought I was crazy. Okay? I was talking about, hey, you guys, we don't have to have day jobs. You know, there's other ways to make money. And they thought I was crazy. Understandably, I probably am, but about this topic, I'm pretty sure. Okay. At the time, I was like trying to find everything I could, and I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Now, if you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad or know Robert Kiyosaki, please in the chat, the nomorewaiters.com/Lisa, just write yes, I've read it, or if I haven't, I've heard of it, or whatever. In that book, Robert Kiyosaki talks about what an asset is. And an asset is something that pays you. And an asset is something that you can buy or create or build that pays you. And that was a completely foreign idea to me. Now, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. All the people who continued in the business courses at school that I was with didn't know that definition of an asset. What they knew was to get out of school and get a job, which is what I had done anyway. I was answering phones. Some of my roommate, you know, learned how to be a corporate guy and, you know, learn to be a corporate guy. My friends in the improv with me, who we were entertaining people, all of which, in my opinion, are better performers than I was, okay? Better performers, just, you know, I was just trying to learn from them as we went along. They had day jobs too. But I read this book, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it blew my mind. And here's what I mean about an asset. It's something that pays you. If you can imagine a vending machine, I want you to imagine that your great aunt dies and just leaves you in her will a vending machine. What? Yeah, a vending machine at a rehearsal studio. You've gone by rehearsal studios before, right? And you've seen vending machines there. Well, you're thirsty, right? So you put in $2 and you get a vitamin water, even though it's not really good for you. You get a vitamin water and you drink it and you don't think about it, right? But what you don't realize is that somebody owns that vending machine, okay? And that $2 that you spent for that vitamin water, somebody made like $1 on that. And I want you to realize that that person wasn't there, didn't spend any time making that dollar. That idea was completely outside of my mental world. That idea, there's a section of your life, you don't know what you don't know. The idea that you could get paid, that you could just buy something, like a vending machine, that could pay you was completely out of the realm of my experience. And when I found out that real people do that, it blew my mind. So I started looking for ways to do that, okay? And around this time is when the Internet was happening, okay? The Internet was kind of like getting going. And you could, Hotmail was happening, and you could get your own sites and all that. And it was simple. This is a while ago, guys. This is a while ago, right? And so while I was learning to have little businesses like I was doing with the multi-level and all that, I was saying, for some reason, I sent my headshot out. The reason I did that is because someone told me that, hey, just like you advertise your multi-level marketing business, you should be advertising your acting business. And I was like, acting business? But, that's why they call it show business. I have an acting business. But I hate business, right? Well, wait. This whole thing where I'm like telling people about household products, well, I guess that's a business too. Oh, so it's just like, So I guess setting out headshots is like the Chinese food restaurant putting the menus under my door. Well, that's no big deal, right? If you think about it, when you do a mailing, it's just like the Chinese food restaurant putting menus under your door, okay? You want either an agent's business or a casting director's business, a director's business, somebody's business, and just like the restaurant wants your business. Well, I could get my head around that, sure. So I'm like a restaurant or like a plumber, I'm like a plumber who just wants to find the people who need my acting business. Well, I could get around that. So because I kind of got in this business world, these ideas, I started learning about our acting business world. So guess what happened? I started doing the things in my acting life that I learned from my business life. And one day I learned about Google AdWords. And Google AdWords is an advertising thing. And someone told me, hey, just like I was telling you guys about buying a vending machine, you can buy somebody else's books and sell them. I said, what? Yeah. You can buy the rights to somebody else's books, and you sell them and you make the money because you own them. Well, okay, right? So I spent like $1,000. I know, where did I get $1,000, right? On my credit card, which is the same way I was spending my money anyway. Because if you can believe it or not, answering phones at NYU didn't pay me much, and I lived in New York. Okay? At the time, I lived on the east side on 76 off York with a friend of mine in the teeniest little place, the tiniest little place, you guys. So I spent $1,000. I bought the rights to these books, and I started learning how to advertise them online. Just little advertising. And I had these books on hypnotism. I was like, well, I'm interested in hypnotism. I'd like to learn about that stuff. I don't know what for, but it sounded neat to me, so I was excited about the idea. And I made a little ad, teeny little ad, 4 lines. It was like, learn hypnosis now. Like some cheesy thing at the back of some comic book or like a classified ad on Google, because Google was like a new thing, right? And people would click on the ad. When they clicked, I had to pay Google. It's called, pay-per-click, and I paid Google some money. And if they bought the book, then I got to keep the money. Just like if they bought a vitamin water, the guy who owns the vending machine keeps the money, right? And at first, I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I spent like $20, and I lost it all, because people clicked, but nobody bought anything. it wasn't enough. So I put another $100 down, and just seeing if the ads would work. And people were clicking on it because I was paying. But people didn't buy, and then people were buying, right? People were buying, but I still lost a little bit of money. But then one day, I spent $100, but enough books had sold that I made 120. And this was while I was answering phones at NYU. I wasn't in front of the computer. I had set it up the night before. Okay? And while I was at the day job, I went to rehearsal afterwards and realized I had made $20. And I went to rehearsal and was like, you guys, I made $20. And they were like, not impressed. They were not impressed, right? And I was trying to explain to them that I made $20 without being there, but they were not impressed. Around this time, because I had sent my headshot out, I auditioned for this improv group because I was doing improv with my friends at night, and this opportunity came up for an improv group that was full-time. Full-time. A full-time improv group, yeah. I'm still part of it. It's not full-time anymore. After the economy went down, it's not full-time anymore, right? But at the time, it was full-time. But here's what full-time meant. Here's what a full-time improv gig meant. At NYU, I was making $38,000 a year. The full-time improv gig was going to pay me $13,000 a year. Now, my rent was like $11.50. So I didn't even take an improv gig meant I wasn't even going to make rent or barely food. But I was at that point that I had made this $20, and I said, "Damn it, this is you can make money outside of a day job. I want you guys to understand that $20 made the entire difference for the rest of my life. That $20 and realizing what it meant after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad and just kind of learning along the way, stumbling, losing money along the way, but that $20 completely changed the course of my life. I don't know how else $20 would ever change my life, but the way that I got that $20 completely changed my life. So I had the guts. You know what? The recording's probably messed up already. So I had the fucking guts to quit the day job and go for the full-time improv gig with the idea that I was going to make this $20 thing work bigger. It was a huge gamble. And you know what? My boss, I wrote this on this in a book that I wrote. My boss said, you haven't even done anything. What are you doing? How are you going to quit your day? How are you going to quit your day job? You haven't even done anything. And she was right. And actually, by now, this wasn't NYU. I was working at another place, the company that owned Macy's. But I took this improv gig with Freestyle Repertory Theater, New York Theater Sports, and this idea that I can make $20. So I started learning more about that, and more and more and more. And I started buying the rights and selling other books. And holy crap, you guys, it started working, right? So if you're with me, how long is it? 9:41. Okay, so hopefully you're learning what I'm saying along the way through this story, because I've kind of already told you the point. I've told you the big action point, but I want to tell you how it's changed now and how you can do it. Okay? So I learned that I could buy other people's books and sell them and make some money, right? Now, things have changed since that was because this was before YouTube. This was before YouTube, you guys, and other people started learning how to do that. So I wrote my own booklet that was teaching that would show people how I was doing that, okay? And after a while, see, that writing my own thing was something I didn't have to pay for, right? Because I was broke. So, and I remember LisaGold actually had this experience too, because I remember she called me once after being at a Millionaire Mind intensive, where she kind of understood that, we can be infopreneurs, sell information that we have. And if anybody online has some great information, LisaGold has some great info for us actors, and I've learned a ton. And by the way, I have every product of LisaGold. I have every product of LisaGold. I'll tell you more why a little later, but I have every one of them. But here's what happened. I had set up all these little ways of selling other people's books, right? Different niches, hypnotism and like pet stuff, and I had set them up so that people clicked on the ad and they either bought the book or they didn't. And suddenly I started making a little bit of money, right? And I had this girlfriend, and I was like, "Hey, baby, this is kind of cool. I'm like making money now." I was a full-time actor doing improv, right, and making money. So I took the next step. I started sending my headshots out to other people, like real agents and stuff. And suddenly someone sent me on a commercial audition. Somebody who didn't, they were like, "Hey, this guy looks like something else." I was non-union, And I was like, "Oh, well, if this person would send me, there are other people who might send me out." So I sent out to them because I could. You understand that I could? I had the day. I had the time now. I wasn't getting up to go on the train and all that. So I booked a commercial. Holy crap, I booked a non-union commercial. And it was non-union, so I think it was like $500, something like that. But you guys, I made $500 being an actor. Holy crap, right? And I was making money online, and I had this full-time improv gig, right? Well, this is amazing. This is how it's happening. And I'm telling you guys, it was that $20 that made the difference. So I started making my own products, right? I started writing my own things, just things that people want to know about, whatever, And one day, the improv gig, by the way, started getting smaller because the market changed and it just wasn't doing the same business. So it stopped being full time. I had this girl, but that was okay because I was making more anyway. So I had this. My girlfriend and I'm like, you know what? Let's go to Great Adventure. And I had set up all these things, and I was like, making money and like auditioning, and people were sending me on non-union gigs, and suddenly I had like 5 agents that I was freelancing with, and they were all calling for the next thing because I was like booking stuff, right? And one would call, and I'd say, okay, I'll go for you, and then like the other 4 would call, and I'd say, oh, sorry, you should have called me faster, right? Which is, oh man, it's like dating, right? I hope you got that tip. I hope you heard that tip just now. I hope you heard that tip right now. Somebody called me for like a date, and I was like, sorry, somebody beat you to me. Next time, call me faster, right? So we decided I was going to go to Great Adventure, and we were on the rides, and I'm like, you know what, when I was little, man, it was always like, no, John, we have money for that, we have money for that, and whatever. To that day, I just splurged. Me and my girlfriend, we went bonkers and spent $400, just the two of us, at Great Adventure. Rented a car, bought all the food, and ate half of it, and threw the other half away. In retrospect, I probably should have given it to somebody. Not that somebody wants to eat half-eaten funnel cake, but whatever. Ate half of it, threw it away. Went on every ride, got the little pass to get in front, spent $400, right? And I was like, wow. I was nervous the whole time just because I wasn't used to spending money like that. If you know what I'm saying about nervous spending money, if you know what I'm saying about that, just type yes, nervous. Just type nervous in the chat box over at normalwaiters.com/Lisa. Just type nervous if you know what I'm saying. And I got home, I returned the car, and I was like, man, Bone, you overdid it, man. You overdid it. And I got home and I looked at my computer and I had made $500 while at Great Adventure. So that day I was out spending $400 and I came back and I had made $500. So in effect, I got paid $100 to go be at Great Adventure. that was another turning point. It was a turning point, if you guys understand that. The next turning point was that Doug Keston at Paradigm sent me out for my first union commercial, and I booked it. It was for FedEx. Okay? Then he sent me out for another union commercial, and I booked it. Still non-union, right? Because I don't know, because maybe I'll do financial core, blah, 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 right? How many people have had that talk, right? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then sent me out for this McDonald's campaign, and I booked it. And that's when they signed me. So I would like you guys to pay attention to what I'm saying there. I had been steadily booking commercial work, and it wasn't till my that was my second booking with them, but it was a 3-commercial national campaign. Okay? Paid me like $80,000. That's when I got signed. So a lot of people are wandering around saying, hey, I want to get signed. How do you get signed by an agent? How do you get signed by an agent? Well, the first thing I'll tell you is to get how to get and keep an agent from LisaGold. That's the first step I'll tell you. Because she'll tell you that oftentimes we're trying to put the cart before the horse. Okay? But it was that I was free during the day, because when any of those agents called me to go on the audition the next day, I could say, sure, I can go. Do you have to ask somebody for time off? Nope. Do you have to you have to switch your shift with somebody? Nope. Well, how do you make money? I do it online. I sell other people's stuff. I sell my own and other people's stuff online. How do you do that? Oh, don't worry about it. Right? But this is when things change, because my improv friends, how many of them do you think are actors now? 0. Well, I'm not going to say 0, because some of them do shows once every 6 months. You know? But I'm going to tell you again, better performers than I was. Not anymore, because I've been doing it this whole time. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because I've had the time to go perfect my craft, you guys. I've had the time and energy, and you know what? I don't spend a third of my day doing some other fucking thing. Okay? I learned this whole, how to make money online. And now it's easier. Now it's simpler than it was then. Now there's Facebook and YouTube and all this stuff. So I've been doing it steadily. So a while ago, I started telling actors, because actors would ask me. They'd say, hey, Bones, I saw you on this and this. How did you get that? Oh, well, I auditioned for it. Oh, well, what happens when your agent calls you? Who do you get to cover your shift? Nobody. Oh. Who tells you when you have a day off? When you use one of your sick days? No. They're all well days. They're all health days for me, right? So here is where I'm going to put a link into the chat box. And if you're there, I want you to go there. Let me type this out and put this down. It is www.nomorewaiters.com/mastermind.
Hey, Bones, I think I figured it out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! I've been silenced, but I've been lost, but now I'm found. You've been saying some really great stuff, and I've been wanting to ask a few questions, but now I forgot what they were. But I just wanted to let you guys know I'm still on the call. I just couldn't be heard for a long time. And also, I don't know if you have a button to push, but I've been getting a few messages and emails from people going, they can't get on since you hit a certain button. Can't access the call. I don't know if you can take care of that now so they can get on for the last part of it, but if not, it's not. Anyway, just saying.
I don't understand why they couldn't get on unless we're over capacity. I don't see how they couldn't get on. Maybe if they're trying to ask questions and they can't, then ask the chat box and I will see them there. That's why I put that. That's why I put that there.
I think we just blew up the lines with too many people. That's awesome. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay, great. So if you have any questions, by the way, along the way, just please put them in the chat box. I am monitoring this thing. I was kind of looking away while talking to you guys, but I'm going to look now. But if you go to nomorewaiters.com/mastermind, I wrote a book a while ago called No More Waiters: How to Build Your Acting Business Without a Day Job. Okay? And here's the thing. Remember I was telling you about how that you had to buy other people's stuff before you could sell them? Well, that's not true anymore. Now, you can just direct people to other people's stuff and get paid. So you don't have to buy the thing ahead of time. You don't have to, remember I said about I had to buy like a stack of books and stuff like that to sell them before? That's not necessary anymore. Now you can be what is called being an affiliate. You can kind of just send people to different people's stuff and get paid for it. And most people don't know this. The vast majority of people are buying things. They think they're buying things from Amazon, and they are. But what you don't know is that Amazon is paying somebody like me, to send you there or me there. Okay? And there's a lots of different ways to use the Internet to make money without using the time. So you have the day free. And if you go to nomorewaiters.com/mastermind, you'll see that I tell people this all the time. There are two kinds of actors: those who bring the check to the table, because they're waiters, and those who get the check in the mail. So which do you want to be? When do you start making money as an actor because you have the time to run your acting business? Remember I told you how much I hated the whole business thing? Well, what I learned was that while learning this businessy stuff, it was just like acting already. It was just like acting anyway. Oh my gosh. And that's the way you make money. What? Yeah. So the same thing I was learning about like selling books is how I book work now. The way I book commercials. Now what I found out, now by the way, acting, as you know, there's a lot of like ups and downs in acting, right? Sometimes you see Vin Diesel everywhere and then you don't, right? Sometimes you see Tom Cruise everywhere and then you don't. Well, it's the same for us. And so what I found is that sometimes somebody might like be hot and booking a bunch of stuff, and then they need to go back to their day job. Oh, what? Yeah, I have a friend who is a major part on a Netflix show who goes back to his day job when they're not done filming. Why? Because he doesn't make money any other way. Now, you'd think he'd listen to me, right? Because, right? You'd think. But what I found is that sometimes, and here's where I'm going to have a lot of you hang up, there are a lot of people who want to not succeed. They want to have excuses. They want to not do stuff. So if you go to nomorewaiters.com/mastermind, I have an offer here. I have a mastermind. And here's why I'm doing this. If you'll notice, I have the No More Waiters, the 2014 ebook, How to Build Your Acting Business Without a Day Job. In it, you learn why most actors fail and learn how to avoid their mistakes, why 98% of people quit acting before they turn 30. Now, if there are people above 30 on this call, I am going to applaud you. I applaud you because it means you're still in the fight. And you're looking for things to learn. If you're under 25 on this call, I applaud you also because maybe you figured out early, maybe you're starting to figure out, maybe you're on the verge of quitting the business because you can't figure out how to make some money. And if you're in between 25 and 30, I know that you're realizing that, holy crap, I need to make some money, otherwise I have to give up. Okay? And there are many, many, many ways of making money using the Internet so you're not using the time. And what I want to do with this mastermind group here, if you'll notice, number 5 is my personal mastermind group. We're going to do 3 weekly video hangouts like this where I will personally help you create your own kind of vending machine so that when people buy stuff, it makes you money. I'm looking for questions in the chat box. I don't really see. I see like people agreeing with me. And Lawrence Fishburne, really, that's cool. And a bunch of cool stuff. Marcus Devin, I got nervous hearing him when I thought this was another marketing call. It is not. Right? And so.
Hey, Bones, it's really interesting because I think a lot of the same people were on a call a few weeks ago or 2 or 3 weeks ago with my friend Tyrone Jackson. And, he does something really great where he teaches people to trade in the stock market.
Right.
And it's great to learn that. And I trade in the stock market, but you do have to have money to trade in the stock market. I mean, yeah, you got to pay money to get the education, but then you have to have money to trade in the stock market. What I like about this is that, yes, you need to get an education, but you don't need a shit ton of money to make money. This is something that is pretty simple, right? Because I've seen you do it for years. I'm going like, how does he do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the technology's just gotten easier. So before, remember I mentioned that I was like making little ads on Google and it was costing me money and all that stuff, right? I will show you how other people do that without spending 1 penny.
Wow.
If
that.
you notice, right. And Lisa, you know this already, right? I still keep in mind that in fact, Lisa is a good example of that, right? Lisa, when I bought Lisa's whole big package of info products so I could better my acting business, she was probably sleeping because I think I bought it at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay? She has an infopreneur business, right? Everybody can have that because I've helped people have their own fitness business. If you'll notice over here, if you notice on the page of nomorewaiters.com/mastermind, if you act now and have you get the free bonuses, notice number 1 and number 2. A friend of mine who's a yoga instructor, I gave her a business makeover. Number 2 is an acting coach, business makeover. I showed them how they can start making money without the yoga instructor makes money now outside of having to bend somebody's body personally. That makes sense. Because you think about it, well, if I'm a yoga instructor, obviously I have to be doing yoga with somebody before they can pay me for it. Well, that's wrong. Well, if I'm an acting coach, obviously I have to sit there in front of somebody and tell them what they're doing right and wrong and to breathe. And otherwise they can't pay me, right? Wrong. And if you see number 3, there it says 90-minute authoring teleseminar. I believe, do you know Chris Lucas too, Lisa?
Who's that?
Chris Lucas.
Oh, Chris, of course, Chris Lucas. All my Golden Circle members knows he's the creator of The Actor's Detective.
Exactly. So The Actor's Detective, Chris Lucas and I, we did a teleseminar a while ago where we talked about what it's like because we found that a lot of, actors want to create, right? So we sat down for 90 minutes and we talked to actors who wanted to write their own books and make money from them. We taught them how. Because I have like half a dozen, maybe a little more, like 8 books right now on Amazon that people buy and I get paid from it. And I teach people how to do that. If that's something you're interested in, then number 3, the bonus of number 3 is probably the thing you're most interested in. If you'll notice number 5 over here, the YouTube money machine, in No More Waiters, I show you how for $0, listen, for $0, I get paid because of YouTube. I call it getting a YouTube check. It doesn't come from YouTube. It's not signed by Google. I just call it a YouTube check. Because I make a certain kind of video that makes me money. And no, it's not like a great comedy sketch of mine that advertisers advertise on. That is not it. People do that, and some people make money. I mean, like the epic rap battles history, my favorite thing in the world. Those guys are amazing. They make a lot of videos, and they're brilliant. I'm not talking about doing that. okay? A certain type of video that you can make that makes you money. And these are bonuses I'm giving to people who are on the call. I'm not so sure if I'm going to give it to people who are on the recording, frankly. I wanted to give you guys a push over the edge there. If you'll notice, it's normally going to be $3.95. See, what I'm doing here, you guys, is I'm using this recording. I'm going to use this recording to show other people. And then the 3 masterminds, which are 3 weeks, we're going to personally work together to create your machines, your vending machines, your whatever you want to create, or whatever you ask me to help you create. I'm going to use those to show other people, and those videos are going to be part of the $9.97. So whoever joins our mastermind now will get it for $3.97 instead of $9.97. That is 60% off, and it's only good till tomorrow at noon. If you notice, 13 hours, the countdown there. So if you go to nomorewaiters.com/mastermind, if you're going to act now, those of you who get it now, you're going to get all those bonuses and my personal help with that. And if you notice, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. That, if I cannot help you, which is I already know it's impossible that I wouldn't be able to help you, that you'd get your money back. But I already know. I don't think there's no. Of course, there was somebody. There have been people who have worked with me in the past who did not get the results that they wanted, and I'll tell you why. Because they didn't do anything. And you know what else I found? Those people also didn't do anything in their acting careers. So sometimes having the day job is the excuse, but the truth is that for some people, that's exactly where they want to stay. In fact, a couple months ago, there was a woman who was in her 40s who told me that she, had been trying to be an actress this whole time. And I was like, wow, and hanging out, and still great. I said, well, when's the last time you got a new headshot? And this is why when she was using the day job excuse, and she hadn't gotten them in like a decade. I was like, oh, then you don't have an acting business, sweetheart. And she got mad at me, And so when I tried to help her make money to lose the day job, she didn't do any of the things that I suggested to her also. So if you're that kind of person, I don't want you to. Please do not click on that. Please do not click on the mastermind. I want people who want to make the difference, who do not want to be part of the story of, oh, well, I used to be an actor. Oh, well, I used to, but I couldn't find a way to make any money, so I had to quit. Now, here's the other part of that, by the way. Here's the other part of this. When you make money for yourself, like by yourself, you don't ever have to quit acting. Does that make sense? My parents don't ask me when I'm going to quit the acting thing because I already make money anyway. Plus, they see me on TV. When they didn't see me on TV, they were like, what are you doing, right? And it used to be that, like, if a long time, actually, no, now if a long time goes by and I'm not on TV, they're like, oh, yeah, are you still doing that? But it's not the, are you starving question? It's not the, do you have an acting thing? You love that? Hey, are you still doing the acting thing? Your parents stop asking you that if you're making money anyway. Does that make sense? I hope that makes a lot of sense. If that makes sense to you, put acting thing in the chat. If that makes sense, put acting thing. And hey, Lisa.
Yeah.
Are you there?
I am.
Lisa, now we did not discuss this beforehand, but I would like for you to do me a favor.
Sure.
I would like for you to add a bonus from you.
Oh,
I know I'm totally putting you on the spot now. I want you guys to know I'm totally putting Lisa on the spot right now. Okay? And I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. For the people who act who act before the countdown's done, I do act tonight. okay? Before midnight tonight, your time. Before midnight, your time. Would you do a call with me about the business of acting?
Oh, absolutely.
Just for those people?
Because here's the thing, and listen, I think I know my audience pretty well, and I know there's people out there who have entrepreneurial brains who also have creative brains. If you're anything like me, half of me is very artistic and I'm a singer, and I love to make art. And then there's the other part of me that is this businesswoman that kind of came out when I bought Actors Connection, and I had no idea I had that side in me. But once that side kicked in, I was like, making money is cool. And I realized that as I started to, how do I say this? As I started to play in the area of creating and marketing and making money in that area, that's when my acting career picked up. And it's really kind of symbiotic. And I get very airy-fairy sometimes with this group. The energy that you put out is the energy that comes back, and you have to be a vibrational match to that. And I'll just say it, what I get really sick and tired of is the people that come to me and say, oh, that's a really nice thing, but I don't have any money. And I'm going, that's complete bullshit, people. You live in New York, you live in Los Angeles. You just don't see it. You just don't see the possibility of taking this on. Now, I get it for people who it's not right for. I'm totally down with that. If, you don't want to make money by selling other people's products on the internet, that's just not your cup of tea, I got that. But if there's an inkling that anybody who wants to own their own business, be in control of their finances and not have to trade time for money, then I'll throw in that bonus. Abso-freaking-lutely. I don't have guests on the phone that often. I kind of just started to do that because I know there's a contingent of people out there that are just sick and tired of saying, I don't have any money. And I'm sick and tired of freaking hearing it because it just is a mentality that we're stuck in. So if any of the people that have been on this call for this past hour or so, have this desire to stop playing the game that no longer works, and is attracted to the conversation of making money online, then I say put yourself in Bones' hands because I've seen him do it for years. And I've struggled with it myself. But I create my own products, right? I create my own seminars. I sell my own seminars. I sell live seminars, recorded seminars. You don't have to do that. The actor you don't have to do that. Bones wants to show you a way where, and if you are a writer and if you want to sell your own content, he's going to teach you that too. And so at the end of the day, I'm just going to give this my wholehearted gold seal of approval and say, sign up for this. And yes, I'll be very, very happy to sit down and create a really juicy, teleseminar with you and get up underneath what it is we're both promoting, which is, being able to pursue this career called acting as a business without having to wait on tables. You created the perfect, thing. No more waiters. I love it. So that's my 2 cents. And that's unsolicited. I just made that up on the fly, I swear to God.
I'm going through the chat here, and there's a bunch of questions here, and I'm sorry I wasn't like watching as it went on. So some people are like, oh, what kind of things? What kind of things? I'm not sure if I understood about at the beginning of the call. You were saying you can use Google AdWords. That was what I was doing before, and now you don't need to use Google AdWords because frankly it's too expensive because real big businesses are doing that. But there are so many opportunities, and in the mastermind we'll explore every one of them because it sounds like all I'm talking to you about is making money through like selling other people's products online. And that is definitely my favorite because it requires the least time from me, if that makes sense. And it kind of works. But, some people, they already have they're already massage therapists, right? Massage therapists don't realize that they can make money outside of when their hands are on a patient, a client. Okay, and I help people do that. Yes, using the internet, but still in massage therapy. So I don't want you to think that everyone's going to sell all the same books or something like that. That is not how it works. It is your thing, and we are going to create it for you together. And Lisa, the call I want you to do with me is less about the business side because the mastermind is going to take over. I really want something juicy from you and me about like the acting career, something that, you know, most people don't hear about.
Okay.
You know, the agent side, the casting director side. Yesterday, okay, so I've been a professional. I've been a no day job actor. I've been full time for over a decade. Okay, I just had a baby 4 months ago, and I stay home with my wife and I stay home with our baby. Okay, except for when I go to auditions or something. Yesterday I went to like an agent meeting thing because I want to do some more TV. I got really fat and comfortable doing commercials. I want to do some more TV, right? And, you know, I was so much more relaxed than all the people who just came from work. Do you understand what I'm saying with that? I walked in there because I was kissing and hugging my baby all day.
Yeah, you're living your life instead of, you know, working for somebody else so they can live theirs. I got it.
Yeah. So that's the stuff. I mean, that's the nitty gritty, like next level stuff. And if you're in the group of, you know, so let's talk about acting for a minute. I'm sure some people have taken an improv class. You talk to somebody else about improv, they're like, oh my God, I could never just think on my feet on stage like that. You know, it's not about thinking on your feet on stage like that. That it's a skill that you've learned, right? That once you know how to do it, it's totally not what the layman thinks. That's true of acting, it's true of the acting business, and it's true of making money online or any other way, like the business thing I was talking to you about earlier. So for those of you who like, hey, you know what? I think this guy knows what he's talking about. He's been doing it for over a decade. I want to take action now. If you feel that you understood what I'm saying, you know, if trading stocks wasn't your thing because you didn't have the money to start and all that, I get that. This is $400 to start with me personally, to me to be with you personally, to help you create your own thing. Then I encourage you to take action now and click that button, join the mastermind, because all the bonuses are going away shortly. You know, it's 10:15 now. You know, I could go on for a long time. If anybody has some specific questions on here, somebody asked me like what websites I'm talking about. There are a lot of them, and I'm willing to give a great example. So I'm just looking at the other questions that are here. I don't see too many. People are like, oh, somebody good. Jenny Ducad, if that's how you say your name. I'm glad you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Fantastic. Good. Lauren Hart. Yes. Acting teachers. So true. They are teachers. They're not in the business. I'm glad we got all these comments. That's fun. So I don't see any specific questions. So I guess everyone must have joined them up the mastermind. And, you know, I guess
so
we'll
let's break down the course
together.
that you're actually offering. You're offering the book, obviously, and then you're offering 3 sessions in a mastermind situation group where you're going to be working with people in a Google Hangout. Now, that is something that I'm unfamiliar with, but it's where everybody gets to see you and and interact and ask their questions, and, you know, like you're teaching from home, though, right? And
right.
So you've got this mastermind group, and they can talk to each other, and you're actually coaching on exactly what the websites are and all of that. And then you've got the other bonuses that you're adding outside of the course, including the one that we just invented.
Exactly.
So is that kind of it in a little bow?
Yeah, you get the. You know, I didn't go through them here, but you're going to get the book, right? Without question. That, you know, frankly, everybody loves it. There's a lot of why actors that don't make any money go nowhere. why it's, when people start, it's kind of like this ticking clock, and if they don't make money by a certain time, as actors, well then forget it. I'm just going to get married and have a day job for the rest of my life, And I just think that that's an awful, awful, sad choice, because you don't need to make that choice, okay? And, lots of people run around with regrets at 50 and 60 and whatever. And I'm telling you, you don't need to make that choice. And if it's been a couple years and you haven't really gotten anywhere, I'm going to recommend that you come with me on that journey, okay? And that's the beginning of the book. The next part of the book is about how you can go about creating your vending machines, your online ways of making money. That's just the book, okay? The second thing you get is the audio. It's me, so you can listen to it anywhere you go. You can download it to your phone. You can listen to it about everything, the motivating part, the inspiring part, the how-to, the step-by-step, how to, go to GoDaddy and get this kind of domain name and forward it here, and done, boom. Go to this site, click here, things like that. Then if you notice, there's a 2-hour video seminar that I do. I just put on my camera and let it run, showing people in that thing. I show people how to get Facebook ads for pennies instead of, I know you're boosting things there, boosting posts, but you can get Facebook ads for pennies and have people buy things that you have created or somebody else. My favorite thing is when somebody else pays me. I get paid from 15 to 20 different places, different checks. A lot of those are acting checks, by the way, which is super exciting. Then there's an actor motivation manual. In this booklet, now this is one of those things where I bought a whole bunch of different actor advice columns and articles and put them all in this Going Pro, an actor's manual. It's the kick-ass manual to go from the dream and to the stage and to the screen, because so many people get stuck at that first part. But it's about maintaining a career and having an acting business. Course number 5 is the personal mastermind group. Once a week we get together for as long as necessary to get you to where you can create your own business and have your own money. So people stop asking, are you still doing an acting thing? Oh, hey, honey, we really think maybe you should have something to fall back on. Have you tried to get your nursing degree or something? Hey, maybe you should be an attorney. Maybe you should be an attorney like Deborah. Be an attorney like Deborah, right?
Hey, Bones, I want to stick my 2 cents in here, and I'm just going to really get real, because at the end of the day, you hear those ding, ding. That's people getting off the phone. And here's what I know. I know this isn't for everybody. I don't know if we have 300 people, 30 people, or 3 people left on this call. But I know that if you're still listening, then you're interested. And at the end of the day, the ones that aren't are done. Either they already went and they bought and they're done, but I doubt it. So here's the deal. This isn't for everybody. This isn't for, and I got to tell you, this is more than just a sales pitch to you guys. This is a way out of your freaking non-flexible day job that you hate. And at the end of the day, you have to bring yourself to it. If you are interested in doing something different and having something different happen, honestly, freaking pay the money and take on an education. That's all I can say. I see people every day. They're handing out $300 to Actors Connection, and I own Actors Connection, so I shouldn't think it's a problem, but it is. $300 for 3 hours to go in front of 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, industry guests and do, a 3 to 5 minute scene and hope and pray. Oops, I got my Chihuahua home security system on. And hope and pray that, somebody discovers them and that they get plucked from obscurity and get a job. One job on Law & Order the next day. And even if that were to actually happen, it still does not a career make. So I know that there are people out there that have $400 to spend on this course. It's just will they? And you have to have it in you to be called to it. And I am not trying to put, the turnkey pressure. I'm just saying, like, if you're do the same old thing, have the same old results. Do something different, have different results. So I'm going to encourage the people that are still listening on the line that are kind of like a little bit on the fence to just, what's the worst that can happen? You end up buying something, you don't participate in the education, and you've lost $400. Or you buy it, you participate in the education, you go, man, this is easy, I can do this, and I will make my first $20, just like Bone said, and get lit up and turned on, and then have a different way of living. And that's just the truth. So, hear my words. If we're on this call, it's because you came through my Act Outside the Box community. I know you're out there. I know there are people who want a different way for themselves. So that's all I got. And
Amen.
I think we should conclude the call.
Yeah, amen. And I'm done because I've been talking for a while. And so, if that calls out to you, then you have a little bit of time left before we take out those bonuses. If you have any questions, you have my email. You have Lisa's. If you're like, if you have questions after, even better. So, that's it. Pull out your credit card, click on that button, join the mastermind, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
And just to be clear, you're offering certain bonuses until, midnight tonight, and that's Pacific time, because I'm out here on the West Coast. So you're going to make that 3 a.m. East Coast?
There's a
3 a.m. East Coast?
Clock ticking down. 13 hours from now.
Okay. 13, yeah. So,
hello?
All right, everybody. Hello?
Lisa?
Yeah?
Hi. This is George Trahanis calling.
Yes.
George?
Hi. This really rings true to me. Hi, Bones. How you doing?
Excellent, George. How are you?
I'm really doing well. I have been in a day job that I hate for like 6 years, and my only concern is I'm in my 50s, and part of me is like, is it too late for me?
So, George, here's the thing, George, and I'm going to be so real with you right now, okay, George?
Okay.
The fact that you're on this call means it's not.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah,
you might
I do.
doubt it. You might doubt it. You might be unsure of yourself, but it's not. You know why?
Right.
Because I'm 42, right? I'm 42, you're 50. If they need a 50-year-old, who's booking the job, you or me?
Okay, I hear you.
So do they need 65-year-olds?
Yeah.
So then it's really never that's one great thing about a profession. It's never actually over.
Right.
But I'll tell you this.
Right.
George, I don't think you're talking about the acting profession. I think you're talking about this stuff, right? What Bones wants to teach. Or did I misunderstand?
Yeah, I mean, I want to find a way. I want to find a way to have my acting and to not depend on a day job that drains me 12 hours a day.
12? Yeah, then you got to change something, George. Look, you got to change something. It's $400. If you don't have $400 after 12 hours at 12 hours a day, then you need to find the $400. Okay?
I have.
You know what it is?
I do.
Yeah, I know George well, and George has confidence, and so do other people on the line. And it's just sometimes you just got to throw your hat over the fence. And it really is going to be up to you. You're going to get the great education and coaching, but then you're going to go, I can do this. And, and if getting rid of that life-sucking day job is any motivation, then you can do this too.
Okay.
And by the way, I beat all of you because I'm 52.
So where do we go to the website to register?
I'm sorry. Go to nomorewaiters.com/mastermind, and I'm going to email that out right now.
Okay. Guys, thanks so much. I look forward to working with you, Bones.
All right, George. I look forward to helping you out.
Thank you, George.
Okay,
and that was a great wrap-up to the call. I love you too, George.
It really was. Cool.
I tell you,
I'll talk to you soon.
My community is amazing. My community is amazing. Thanks so much for being on the call, Bones. Really appreciate it. Hope this got recorded. Want to send the recording out tomorrow. And thank you for your time, and we'll talk really soon. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.